Hello and welcome. This is few remarks on the animation hands-on, and it will be used also in the coming assignments and in the project. Let me look at the text. Okay, so currently I requested from you to create a 2D character, and optionally you choose whatever. I gave you a few different kind of animation poster you can choose from. um, I will here's my character. It's boy, and I think I'm not going to do the walking because a simple one. I created few animations related to this. One of them is walking, one of them is dancing, and one of them is idle. Okay, and you will notice that some of this animation, let me run them for you. So if I run it, you'll see this is walking. If I choose another one like idle, nothing will happen. If I choose, for example, dancing, you'll see that I changed the sprite to a skeleton sprite. So this tells you that you can switch from one sprite to another to represent a certain animation. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do the jump, and in the jump I will show you that you can apply translation on the given sprite to do that. So typically you come here and you say create a new clip, I'm sorry, and here I have a certain naming for my animation, so I will call this jump animation, and I will save it. And as you can see here, the animation related to this character. Let me go to my sprites, and you'll see many sprites going on here. Let me a little bit adjust this animation window. Okay, and let me try now if I click on my character, the sprite renderer will show up here. Remember that I asked you to add two components. One of them is sprite renderer and one component is animator, and later on we will add a script to this character so that we can control the animation. Now the purpose of this animation is jumping, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch between two sprites and jump, and let's say that this jump is a scary jump, so that the character is here. While he's jumping, he converts to another sprite like ghost from the scary part. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. I can use here, rather than having different kind of distances up and down, I can use the translation. So here the preview, next to the preview there's a record. You can hit it and you'll see this is red. That means it will record all the poster that you have. Currently let me switch to scene so that I can control it. So this is the first posture I will have. So this is first. So go back next to the time frame, let's say 05 here. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up a little bit because jumping includes going up a little bit. Okay, afterwards I will go to the next one and I will switch. Now what I'm going to switch, I'm going to change the sprite. So this sprite here currently is picture 4:2. If this, I will switch to, let's say, to this character. Okay, or maybe this one. Okay, and it will look like this, as you can see here. Okay, so this is the one that I'm going to choose. Okay, now after that you go back here. Maybe you need to make it a little bit up also in the same token. Now if you go back here also, you can go make it up, and you can switch back also to the kid if you want. So you can take it back here also and move it here, and it becomes like here, and you can move it up accordingly. As you can see here, you can go back here and switch back if you want. This will tell you that you can switch between two different sprite in the same token, and you can move it up a little bit. Okay, and maybe later on you want to keep it the boy, so you can pick the boy again. And now it's time to go down, so go down a little bit and go down a little bit, and let's see, go down a little bit. Let me adjust this one. Okay, and at the end here, go down all the way down. Oh, I made a mistake here. Okay, go down a little bit, and I don't know where did I start. That means, okay, let me go down a little bit. It should start with the same thing. I can stop it here and I can check it out. How does it look like? You'll see that I'm switching, and let me reduce the samples to, let's say, 22. You see how does it jump, switching between two things. I can make it, of course, faster, maybe faster, 44. So he's scared, jumping, and you can do other things, of course. You can swap things, you can switch between things, you can control them. For example, if you look at this one and this one, it's in the same, this posture and this posture and this posture. Okay, let me see this one. This one versus this one, it's the same. What I can do, I can reverse it in the x direction. If I say scale -1, it becomes like this, which is better actually. See, if now if I play it, it will switch between two things. It doesn't seem to. The moral of the story is that you can control the jump the way you want with this. Okay. Now another thing I want to do is you can do also rotation, and of course if you close this, you go back to the animation, you will find now you have a jump animation, as you can see here, and you can play it, of course, accordingly. I will add also one more to make things interesting. I will add one animation called shock animation, where I will use the rotation. And you know, it's like in cartoon, you have a character where you at certain posture it is normal, and another posture it is like either it's big or it is, for example, converted to a skeleton, to make things like scary, to make things a little bit shocked with electricity, for example. So I can do the same thing with playing here. See, I assume all the time here that I don't have the poster, but I can control them with playing and recording, as you can see here. So I push this, now it's red. Now what I can do is I can, this is the first time frame, so I will switch to the second time frame, and I will be doing rotation. So rotation around Z, let me make it 10. Now it's this is the posture that I have. So I switch back here, and I will say, for example, -10, and it will becomes like this. Okay. Now the next one, I'm going to again to change the sprite, so I can, to make things a little bit scary, I will switch to the ghost. So here I will move the ghost here. Okay, and as you can see, I will make it -10, 10, okay, or maybe 20. I'm sorry. Okay, and I will go back here and then make it -20. Okay, it's as if he is shaking left and right. I can increase that, of course, and also I can go back to the kids again, and I move it as a sprite here. Okay, and it becomes sprite, as you can see here, and I can make it 20, and I come here and make it -20, and I think this is it. I can repeat whatever I need, of course. I can stop it here. Let's see how does it look like. So look, it's as if he touched something and he became like touched by or shocked by electricity. And of course you can copy and paste things here. For example, here's the boy, here's the execution, here's the, so I can copy these, and I come here and I paste them to do more things, as you can see here, in continuous cycles. Okay, now one thing, it's better to end up with the same posture here. So this posture I can also copy it and I put it here, but okay, copy, and I make it the last one here. But this one I will make the rotation 0 so that it will stand at the end. It will stand. So you see, like this. When you finish, it will be end up. If we finish here, it will end up like this. It's not standing. It doesn't seem standing. Okay, -15. Okay. Make sure that you retain it back to the amount that it's supposed to be. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so it doesn't seem that it's standing here, the last one. Let me make it 0 so that stand, and save it. Let me see if it didn't save it that much. Okay, let me add one more. Okay, so that, and in this case I will add it 0 so that it will stand, and I save, and I stop it, and I save. So now it should, let me move it one by one. Here we go. So it stopped as it was. Now this animation, as you can see, it will be considered as objects. As you can see, you will see them here, and what controls them is the animator. If you remember in the assignment, I asked you early here to create two things. One of the things, in addition to the sprite renderer, you create a sprite renderer for the character, and you create an animator. And of course you can do that. If you click here, you can find them here, right? You have sprite, you can add component, and you can add sprite renderer animator. Sprite renderer to control the different posture and move it and change it. Animator, the same thing. And remember that the early steps is to choose a certain kind of sprite and split it. So for example here, typically you change this to multiple, and after that you apply and you open the sprite editor. Here for example I have a different posture of a cat. I took it, and of course you can control that, you can remove, you can do whatever you want. And when you save and you are done, okay, you will see yourself ready to use this posture in your animation. Currently, as you have seen, I ask you to do maybe idle, jump, or we did jump, shock, we did shock, a jump just in this video. And walking, I instructed you how to do walking. Now importantly thing is how to control them and understand what's going on. If you open the controller that you created for your character, let's go back to make things clear. You see the animator object here. Typically I ask you to come here and create animator object, new, and I ask you to create animator controller here. I called it skeleton control. This is the name that I called it. If you open it, it will open in animator tab, and you will see something a little bit related to state chart. State chart is a structure where you can have different states, and you can move from one state to another based on a trigger transition like arrow, and you can control that, of course. Let's see what's going on here. You'll see that based on what you have created related to the character, you have a state chart that has entry state, which means the beginning, okay, and at the same time this states walk, dance, shock, jump, and idle is going on. So you decide and control how you can move from one to another. So let's say that currently entry you go to walk, right? So what you can do here, I do want, so that means when you start the game, the object will be in the walk animation. That's why if you start the game, let's say if you start the game like this, let me switch he will be walking, as you can see. Okay, let me bring this separately so that we can see them again together. Okay, what if you want to change that? Okay, you want not to have it idle, you want to have it idle rather than walking. Okay, what you can do is you stop the thing here and you start creating transition based on that. So one thing is you can delete the walk animation here. Okay. I think it's better to have make transition to idle here, and here delete this one. It doesn't delete because it's default. So one way is to delete the walk animation. Okay, let me delete this too. Okay, let's have only, I have only animation. I can add them, by the way, again. So I have dance here, jump here also, and shock here, 3. How many I have? Shock, jump, idle, and dance, 4 of them. Did I miss a walk? I have also walk. Okay. So one thing now we can decide is how can we go from one animation to another. Let me create a transition. After you are idle, let's say that I can go to walk. Okay, if you are in walking, you stay in walking, but also you can go, for example, to jumping. Okay, and also if you are idle, you can go also to dancing. Okay, see, you see how we create things. Now what will happen if we do this? Now if you run, you will see something strange. You will see that he's in idle. Now he went to dance and a walk, and he's stuck in jumping, as you can see here. So any transition by default, it will be executed the way. Now currently it's stuck here in jumping. Why? Because there's no transition from jumping to anywhere else. But I can also do a transition. Let's say I can go back to idle, for example, and from idle I can also make transition to shock. Okay, and you can create you can design the animation how does it go the way you want. Now if you run it, you will see that he will go down and stuck with jumping again and walk animation, because this loop, it will go all the way. So he will idle and he go to walk, jump, and go idle again, and so on and so forth. He doesn't go to shock somehow. It should supposed to go to shock, I guess. Okay, so let's say that he doesn't go. So again, this is how can you control things. So how are you going to control things? Through a parameter or through a variable. So I ask you to do Boolean. So in this example, I'm not going to use Boolean. I'm going to use a status, which is integer. You can do that. So you click on parameter here, add, and you say status here, integer, and call it status. And as you can see, the current value is 0, and you can design now how things go. So in the idle situation, okay, you'll see it's the default. So at the beginning he will be idle. So when he is going to jump, for example, to jump here, there's no jump from idle to jump. Oh, I see. So what we can do here, you can create a transition to jump here, and this transition we decide. Let me make it a little bit bigger here. Let me make room here. Okay. I can say condition here. If you are idle and this transition you want to go to jump, I can add condition by saying make the status equals to, let's say, 1. Okay, so only if it's 1 you go. If it's if you are idle and the status changes to 1, you go to jump. And this is, as you can see here, the if you click on the transition, you will see this condition. Okay, now the other way, if you click the opposite one, you will see that if things goes, if the status turned out to 0, now if you go back to idle. Okay, same thing for dancing. This is the transition from idle to dancing. I add a parameter by saying status equal 2. So if you are idle and the status becomes 2, you go to dancing rather than, because so 1 is jumping, 2 dancing, and 3 is walking. So this one also, let's add a condition. So as you can see, you can add all the conditions that you want. Okay, and there's shocking also. So I click on the transition, I add one more called equals 4 for shocking. Okay, now see what will happen now if you run. Currently is idle because the status is 1. If you switch to 1, you will see he went back to jumping, as you can see here. You see? Now if you switch back to 2, what will happen? Now you need to switch back to 0 so that you go to idle. Now if you switch status to 2, you will see that he is dancing. Now go back to idle. If you switch, now this interesting, he's stuck in dancing, right? He didn't go to idle when I switched to status. Why? Because there's no back transition from dance to idle. So to fix that, we need to add a transition from dance to idle, and this one was saying, okay, add a condition that if the status is 0, go back to idle. The same thing here. You need from walking, you can make a transition to idle, and in this going back transition, add a condition saying, okay, if it's 0, go back to idle. Same thing for shocking. You can make a transition going back here, and you can add a condition so that you go to idle all the time. You save, you run now, you will see something interesting going. Now if you switch to 1, it will go to jumping. 2, nothing will happen. Why? Because the only thing you can go is to idle when the condition is 0. Okay, if you switch to 3, for example, you will go to walking, and after walking, or to jumping, I'm sorry, 0, and now you are in idle situation. If you switch to, oh, I see, 3, something interesting happened, that you walk and after jump because of this transition, right? So you need to be careful about this. So I can delete this one so that I prevent it from going from walking to jumping. So here's 1, you go to 0, 2, you go to 0, 3, you walk, 4, nothing happened, goes to 0, to idle, and finally shocking, which means 4, and you got shocked. Okay, having said that, now we are ready. So this is the controller animator or animator controller that can be used in a script. So in your character, you can add a script, ghost. I prepared my own script, pre-advanced, and let me show you what exactly we need to do here to do things. So I defined a bunch of things that I might need in my script. So I have a status, my own status here, and I have the different states that I have: idle, jump, dance, walk, and shake. Okay, and if you notice that I decided based on a certain input in the keyboard, I will move from one state to another, from one animation to another. So if I hit space, I will jump, the character will jump. If I hit space plus space, it will dance. If you hit walk, it will go. If you hit left and or right arrow, it will start walking. If you hit shift up arrow, it will start shaking. Okay. Now, one thing you need to pay attention is this variable start status here is different than this variable status. Okay. What you need to do is to take the name as a string of this guy and save it in status str, because you're gonna grab the value of this status or set the value in the controller. This status is in your code here. This status is gonna be inside the controller. Okay, so that there are two variables. And if you notice that I have also animator, this is the animator object that I'm going to use to switch or control the state chart from within my script. And this is the sprite renderer that I might need from time to time. So notice that these two variables here are set in the awake, and I'm using get component because they are part of my component. So if you look at my character, it has transform, sprite renderer, animator, and discourse, and I might have many collider, other thing in the future. So what do I want to do here? At the start, I don't have anything. I set everything in the awake, which is a safe way. Now let me look at the update. Update, I need to control what? I need to control the input. So I put because to save time, I put if statement all over the update to catch, for example, if you catch the right shift plus the left arrow, you'll start shaking. So you change the status to shake, and I print something, of course. If you hit the space and the shift, any of the shifts, you start dancing. Here I did not notice. Here I'm just changing the state, as you can see. Same thing for space alone, you start jumping, and so on and so forth. And if you don't do any of the above, you will go back to idle. Okay. Now the thing is that here I am only doing things inside my code, but I'm not accessing the animator, which means I want to access this structure and tell him now you are idle, go to dance or go to jump or go to walk. That means I need to change this status value in the animator. Okay. So the way you do it is as follows. So basically you say, okay, instead here I'm debugging things, so I'm going to say, of course, my animators here called anim object. So you say anim object dot, and you set, of course, the status that I have is of type integer, so I will say set integer, and what is the name of the string? It's called status string, and the value will be status. So status here, the value of shake, which is shake will be 4, and the name of the variable inside the animator status. So notice that this variable could be my status or my animation. It could be anything. Okay, and you need to change it here if in case it's a different name. If you look at here, I think I asked you to create different kind of parameters naming, and I think I gave you some is walking, is jumping. This is what you used inside the animator. For me, I used only the keyword status, which is very simple. And I defined the status as a variable in my code. So as you can see here, let's test what will happen now. Okay. So here animator, it will switch status to what? To, if you hit shift and left arrow, it will start shaking. Let's see, does it work or not? By default, the status is 0, so it will be as you can see, it's gonna be idle. It's taking time. I will run. Now it's idle. Okay, let me hit I mentioned that I need to hit, to make it shaking, the right shift and left arrow. Okay, right shift and left arrow. You see it's kept shifting. As you can, it was shock animation. It is keep shocking, right? One interesting thing is it didn't go back to idle. It's supposed to go back to idle. Let me check the back animation here. Status should be 0 to go back. Let me check the code. How is the code? Okay, so here if you don't do any of these, this one, else, at the end you go back to idle, but he didn't go back to idle instead. So I am changing the status to idle, but it doesn't stop. If you look here, if I run again, you will see now I will do shift and left arrow and start what? Shaking, but it stayed in shaking. In my code here, I told him that state if none, if you don't hold anything, turn it back to idle. But it didn't turn back idle here. What's the reason? The reason is that I am changing the status to idle in my code, but I'm not changing what? The animator itself, the state chart itself. So in order to take it back to idle, you need to do something like, again, to change it in, you need to change the animator in the state machine. Now if you do that, so again, so here if you hit any of the key, change the status. If none of the key was hit, at that moment change the status to idle and go back to what you've been, and change, don't forget to change the animator controller to the state that you want, which is what value of the state, in this case idle, which is 0. Now if you run, you will see something. So let's run. Okay, and if you do that, I will hit shift and left key. If you, it will see it after you do that, it will be shocked, and afterward I lift my hand from the key and it goes back to idle. But what's going on is that it turned out a little bit, maybe the last animation, the shock was a little bit tilted and keep tilting over and over again. So this is something we need to fix. Now one way is, because we are using rotation to do that, what we can do is we bring back the rotation to its identity, or to its reset. We reset the rotation. So reset rotation if you want to go to idle. And the way you do it is very simple. You use transform.rotate. I'm sorry, rotation, and you just make it equal quaternion identity, which means turning back. Quaternion is a four number vector that represent rotation, and it is a standard way to specify very nicely the rotation. Here's, which means basically take it back to the original rotation, which is rotation is 0, nothing. Now if you do that and you come back here and now let's run, and you will see that he's in idle. Shift left. If you keep shift left, eventually it will go back to its idle correctly, right? Now we mentioned that we want to do others, like for example if you want left arrow and right arrow. Okay, it's running. Left arrow, you'll see it's turning around, as you can see. Left arrow, right arrow, left arrow, as you can see. Also, it's missing the flip. So this left arrow, it goes to right. Right arrow, it goes left to left, which indicate that there's something wrong with left hand arrow, and it's not moving, by the way. So how can we make it move? I created a method called move based on a direction, where I decide the direction and the speed, of course, and I say transform on that direction. So this method will help me. If I say move to the left, it will go to the left with a certain speed. Move to the right will go to the right. So let's go here. Here's the left arrow. The left arrow here, um, uh, so I can say move, and here I need to go to the left, which means vector 3 dot, I think there is left. And the speed, I defined a variable at the top here called walk speed, which is 10. So I will use it. So walk speed. Okay. Now, one last thing, it turned out that you need to flip or unflip. So it tends to be the left. By default, the character is the left. So that means don't flip. And you might need to do the same 2 steps when you hit the right arrow. So here you need to flip rather than not flip, and you need to move based on vector right. He gave me the right, and walk speed. Okay. So here's the part that, of course, you can split that to separate method if you want, but here I expect the character to move a little bit in the while running. So let's see. Let's run. Now if I hit left key, now it's moving, as you can see. Right key, left key, right key. Okay. If I say shift and arrow, here's left key, right key, shift, as you can see. So the 3 are doing. If you look, walking, because he's very fast. By the way, he ideally goes to walking, but very fast come back. That's why we don't see it. Okay. What remains is dancing and jumping, right? So dancing and jumping will be the same thing. So if you want to say, for example, dancing here, all what you need to do is, I think I made a mistake. Oh, okay. Yes. I think in addition to moving, you need also to do the animation. If you run to see the walking, you will see it's moving, but there's no animation. As a matter of fact, didn't go to the walking at all. Why is that? Because we did not change the status here. Okay, so again, what you need to do is, when you say left arrow and right arrow, you need also to instruct the animator to change status. So change status in the animator so that it can switch to the current status, which is walking. The same thing here. Now let's look how does it go now when you run. Run. Now look, now he's moving with animation, as you can see. See? Animation, and he's moving. Okay. Now if you stop, that means it goes to idle. If you shift and left, he's shocking. Left, right, it looks very nice. Okay. What do you mean? The jumping is the same story, so you need to do again. After it's jumping, you need to change that status to here, and the same thing for, I think, nothing, dancing maybe. Yes, dancing. I think we did dancing. No, here's it for shaking. For dancing also, you need this to be changing to dancing. This way we incorporating the changing. We change the status in the code, and we change the status inside the animator. This way we integrated everything. Let's see now. Now space, you see jumping. space again jumping, left arrow walking, right arrow walking, and here's we have shocking or shocked, and jumping I think we say space, and dancing is a shift and space. You see, dancing, shift and space stayed here, and afterward go to idle. So as you can see, this way we can control the animator. Okay, now the assignment, in the assignment what remained is you use your skills to do different kind of coding and figuring out how to put the code. If you look at the code, I gave you this already. If you look at the code, is a long if else that we specify the input type, and afterward we keep track with the current status, and how can we change that status or that variable inside the animator. So keep track of the status in my code and change that the value, the corresponding value in the state machine or the animator. If you think how can you do combination of two keys here, for example, you can have and you put and the two keys here. This is a combination of space and left shift key, or space and right shift key. Also here's a combination of left arrow and right shift to do a shaking, for example. You'll see also how can you move things, typical way of moving things, as you can see here. I think I gave you this code previously. It's very simple, typical, use translate to translate in a certain direction. And also we learned how to do flipping using the sprite renderer flip X or Y. Okay, thank you very much. Please let me know if you have questions.